Thank you for choosing my video tutorial for knitting the snowman pattern. I'm very excited to take you step by step on knitting one of my favorite designs and with my favorite yarn. The yarn you'll need is Jamieson's of Shetland Ultra. If you're making the palm size of 6.5 cm, which is suitable for children around 3 to 5 years, or 8.5 cm, which fits women's small to medium, or 11 cm for women's large to men's small. Make sure to measure the widest part of your palm and don't add any ease, as the pattern already includes 1 cm of ease. You'll need 1 ball of each of the following colours for the first 2 sizes: 106 Moose Kit, 304 White, 151 Titanic. If you're making women's large or men's small size, then you'll need 1 ball of each of Moose Kit and White and 2 balls of Titanic. To embroider the snowman's nose, buttons and the hat, you'll also need about 2 meters of yarn in the nose colour, which is Sunburst 472, and Shetland Black for the hat and the buttons. Throughout the pattern, we'll be using 2.5mm double-pointed needles, or whatever size you need to get the correct tension. You'll also need 2 stitch markers used for gusset shaping, a piece of waste yarn to hold stitches, a cable needle, and a needle for embroidery. The required tension for this pattern is 33 stitches and 47 rows over 10 cm using stockinette stitch in Colourwork. It's very tempting to jump straight into the project, but making a tension swatch and adjusting your needle size accordingly is one of the most important things you can do to make sure your gloves turn out the correct size. Once we are happy with our tension, we are going to cast on. Throughout the pattern, we'll be using 2.5mm needles. I'm using this bamboo needles 15 cm in length, size 2.5mm. The pattern says cast on 54 or 66 or 78 stitches evenly onto the needles, using your preferred cast on method. I'm making the smallest size, so I'll cast on 54 stitches. You can use any cast on method that gives a flexible edge. I like using crochet cast on because the cast on edge matches a standard cast off, which is really handy because if I later decide to turn the gloves into a fingerless glove, then the edges will match. Here is how to do the crochet cast on. Make a slip knot and place it on your crochet hook. Hold your knitting needle in front of the working yarn. Use the hook to pull the yarn through the loop. And gently tighten, but not too tight. Bring the yarn back behind the needle and repeat. So bring the crochet hook in front of the needle, pull the yarn through the loop, gently adjust the tightness, bring the yarn back and keep repeating. I need to cast on 54 stitches, but with the crochet cast on, the last stitch will be on the crochet hook, so I'll make 53 stitches, then transfer the final loop from the crochet hook to the needle to make 54 stitches in total. So just place the loop onto the needle like this.
We're now going to distribute the stitches over 3 needles. Each repeat of the cuff pattern, which is a chart A, is a multiple of 6. So try to divide your stitches evenly by a multiple of 6 across the needles. Helpful tip is to make sure the cast-on edges are on the inside and not twisted. Hold the working yarn over the needle. Bring the first and the last stitches together to form a triangle like this, and then carefully begin knitting. And the first stitch is always a little tricky. Then move on to the second needle. But remember, you're still working on round 1 until you finish knitting across all 3 needles. This completes the setup round. Before we continue, I want to talk a little about cable needles. Cable needles comes in all shapes and sizes. For example, these are clover cable needles. They're quite good because you can hang the stitches from them. There are also hook type ones like this, which are great for holding stitches securely and stopping them from sliding off. This metallic one, I actually got it for free somewhere. I really like it because it is strong, doesn't bend like the plastic ones do when I'm working on big cables. But most often I like using a very short double-pointed needle. This one is a Brittany 2.75mm needle, 12 cm long, and it's great because it's easy to slice stitches from right to left. The advantage of using just a straight double-pointed needle is that you can actually match the needles that you're working with. So now I'll show you how to use it. We're going to work the first row of the cable. So the instruction is C5F, which is cable 5 front, which means slip the next 3 stitches onto a cable needle. And hold it in front of the work. Then knit the 2 stitches. Then knit the 3 stitches from the cable needle. Now I'll show you the metallic cable needle. This one is great because the tip is very pointy. So slip the next 3 stitches onto the cable needle again. Hold it in front of the work. And because the cable needle is bent, it hangs nicely from the work without dropping the stitches. Then knit 2 stitches. Then knit the 3 stitches from the cable needle. And continue with the pattern. I'll keep going like this for the rest of the cuff and continue until the cuff measures the desired length. Now I've knitted up to the desired length for the cuff. The pattern says you should stop after row 1, 2 or 3 because it looks nicest when you make the increase soon after the cable, and also this helps the glove shape nicely. Now I'm going to work on the decrease. The pattern says continue in chart A for 16 or 20 or 13 stitches, pattern 2 together, and then repeat from the start 2 or 4 times more and pattern to end. And in the end you should have 51 or 63 or 73 stitches in total. Pattern 2 together means basically knitting or purling 2 stitches together to decrease 1 stitch. So I'm going to knit them together here to stay consistent with the pattern. And then continue the decreases to the end of the round. The pattern says place marker after 25, 31 or 36 stitches and after 26, 32 or 37 stitches. So this is after the 25th stitch for my size, and I'm going to place the stitch marker here. Then I'll place another marker 1 stitch after that, like this. At the moment, there is 1 stitch between the markers. This is where we'll increase to shape the thumb gusset. You can see on the chart that this blue line corresponds to the placement of the stitch markers. So this single stitch between the markers is the one we have right now. On the next round, we'll begin increase between these markers to shape the thumb gusset. For the smallest size, you'll increase every 3 round 5 times, then every 4 round 3 times. If you're knitting a different size, have a look at the chart or the pattern because the increase frequency is slightly different. Let me show you how to do it. Knit to the marker, slip the marker, and then make 1 left. To do this, identify the strand between the stitches, this one here, and insert the right needle from the back, lift it onto the left needle, and then knit it. And that creates left leaning increase. Then knit the next marker to make 1 right. Again, identify the strand, lift it with the right needle onto the left needle, and then knit it. Slip the second marker and knit to the end. On non-increasing round, simply knit all stitches, slipping the markers as you go. Now I'm going to introduce the white color. All the yarns are placed inside of the work. I hold the main color, Titanic, and work 3 stitches. And then I introduce the white yarn. I knit continental with my left hand and English style with my right. It takes some time to get used to using both hands, but it is very useful once you get a hang of it. The key is not to make it too tight. Each time I change the color, especially when switching the needles, I make sure the carried yarn isn't too tight. Magic loop method might make this easier since there's one less needle change. Slip the marker as usual. When using ferrule technique, make sure the yarn strand travel neatly at the back. If there are more than 5 stitches between colors, depending on the yarn weight, you need to catch the float so it doesn't sag at the back. To do this, insert the right needle, bring the non-working yarn over without knitting it, then knit the stitch with the working yarn, and this secures the float in place. Let me show you again. Insert the needle, bring the non-working yarn over, then knit with the working yarn. This keeps the back neat and prevents fingers from catching inside the glove. I'm on round 20 and I wanted to show you this round because one side has a pattern and the other is a solid color. As mentioned earlier, you need to strand the yarn so there aren't long float at the back. I usually strand behind a stitch of the same color. For example, when stranding white, I'll do it behind a white stitch. Let me zoom in. I'm stranding the white now. Insert the needle, bring the white yarn behind and above the main color, knit the stitch, then bring the white yarn back. Continue working until the end of chart B. I've reached the point of placing the thumb gusset stitches on waste yarn. And the pattern says continue working pattern to marker, remove marker. So I've done that. Then it says place the next 17 or 21 or 23 stitches onto a piece of waste yarn. Make one using the loop method, remove marker and continue working in pattern to end. So I'll go ahead and do that now. And these stitches will be worked later for the thumb. Remove the marker. I'll make a loop stitch and continue to end in pattern. So I'm ready to do the little finger. From this point on, the rest of the glove is worked in stockinette stitch. The pattern states, work the first 6 or 7 or 9 stitches, and place the next 39, 49 or 55 stitches onto a piece of waste yarn. And make 3 or 5 or 3 stitches using the loop method, work to end. So let's go ahead and do that. Now I no longer need the white yarn, so I'll break it here. Since we're working the little finger in the round, I'll transfer a couple of stitches from the first needle to the second needle. One, 2, 3. Then join in around and work to the end. Now I've reached the desired length for the little finger. I measure from the base of the loop cast on, as it's easier to see the start point. Now I'm going to decrease the stitches at the top. The pattern says knit 2 together, but I often prefer slip slip knit, which looks like this. Because somewhat for me it's easier on my hand. I write knit 2 together in the pattern because it's usually the standard 1 stitch decrease. But as long as you can decrease 1 stitch, it doesn't really matter what technique you use. Once you finish the decrease, break the yarn and thread it into a needle, and thread the needle through all the stitches. And pull to close the top. Then insert the needle into the center of the finger and pull it through. And that completes the little finger. If you look at the level of the fingers, there is a bit of height between them, and that's what we are going to work on now.
To do this, first put the stitches back onto the needles. Join in a round. When you join in a round, I'd like to leave the yarn tail on the outside so it's easy to weave in later. The colourwork pattern is finished, so the rest is worked in stockinette stitch with the main colour, which is Titanic. Here, the pattern says pick up 2 stitches from the base of the little finger. And that's right here. And so we'll go ahead and pick up 2 stitches evenly. It doesn't matter too much if there is a small gap here, as we'll weave it in later and the gap will close up. Then continue working 2 rounds for the smaller size. Now we're going to work on the ring finger. The pattern says, work the first 6, 8 or 9 stitches. Place the next 27, 33, 37 stitches onto a piece of waste yarn. So let's go ahead and do that. Place the next 27, 33, 37 stitches onto a piece of waste yarn. As we did with the little finger, we'll cast on 3, 2 or 3 stitches using the loop method. Then work to end. Continue in stockinette stitch until you reach the desired finger length. Now I'm going to decrease the stitches at the top. I measure the height from the base of the loop cast on, just like the little finger. The method is the same, so you can work as knit 2 together or slip slip knit, so any 1 stitch decrease. And use the yarn needle and thread in to the loop of the stitches. And pull to tighten the top. Now we're working on the middle finger. The pattern says place the first 7, 8 or 9 stitches and the last 7, 8 or 9 stitches onto the double pointed needles. And leave the remaining 13, 17 or 19 stitches on a piece of waste yarn. Now I'm adding the new yarn. Again, like before, leaving the tail outside. Work the first 7, 8 or 9 stitches
And since we're using the loop cast on again, I'll leave a few stitches here before changing to the second needle. As with the little finger, we'll make 1, 3 or 2 stitches using the loop method, and then knit to the end.
Just like we did for the height between the fingers, right here at the base of the ring finger, we're going to pick up 2 stitches evenly.
You should now have 17 or 22 or 23 stitches in total, and continue working in stockinette stitch until you reach the desired finger length, like before. When you reach the desired height, which is 6, 8 or 9.5 centimeter from the base, work decrease rounds 1 and 2 per pattern, as per pattern. Then break the yarn about 30 centimeter long, thread through the loops of the stitches and gently pull to close the top. Insert the needle in the middle to bring the yarn inside and finish. Now we're ready to do the index finger. It's the same as before but slightly easier, no need for a loop cast on. Place the held stitches evenly onto 3 double-pointed needles, then attach a new yarn, again leaving a 30 centimeter tail for finishing later. Knit to the end. And as before, you will pick up 4, 5 or 4 stitches from the base of the middle finger. Work in the stockinette stitch until the finger measures 5.5, 7.5 or 8.5 from the base. Now I'll decrease stitches at the top of the index finger. Work the decrease as stated in the pattern. Break the yarn and thread it into a needle. And pass it through all remaining stitches to gather the top. Like before, insert the needle into the center to pull the yarn inside for finishing. Finally, I'm going to work on the thumb. Place the stitches evenly onto double-pointed needles. Join the new yarn and work in stockinette stitch to the end. As before, pick 1 stitch from the base, which is here. Then continue in stockinette stitch until you reach the desired length. Now I'll decrease the top of the thumb over 2 rounds and then
Like before, gather the stitches to close the top. And thread in the yarn inside. Now we are going to finish and weave in the ends. You'll see why we left the yarn tails at the finger joints outside. We're now going to use them to close the gaps at the finger bases. Usually I'll put my hand inside the glove while doing this because it makes it quite easy, but since this glove is small, I won't be able to do that. So I will be careful not to sew through the other side. The tip is to follow the stitch pattern and carefully weave in so that it looks natural. Once that's done, turn the glove inside out and weave in all remaining ends. Some like to tie them, but I prefer weaving in. And the yarn is quite sticky, and so it'll just stay as it is. And if you decide that you need to mend it, it's easy to unravel it. And now I'll go ahead and finish all the ends. And before embroidering, I block the glove gently.
So now I'm ready to embroider. I've already blocked the glove. A good tip is to use some sort of paper. If the glove is your size, you could even wear it while embroidering, and it makes things easier. For this glove, it is very small and I can't wear it, so I will place a piece of paper inside like this to stop the needle from going through the other side of the glove. Something like that. Now we're going to embroider the snowman's hat. If you look at the embroidery chart, you'll see where to insert the needle, but feel free to experiment with different yarn colors. For example, you could even give the snowman a red triangular party hat. Be imaginative and then create your own unique gloves. For embroidering on the knitted fabric, The most important thing is not to pull too tightly because the knitted fabric is quite stretchy. I actually really enjoy embroidering on knitwear because it adds texture. My mum once gave me an embroidered bag as a kindergarten present, and that might be where my love of embroidery comes from. The snowman on the thumb gusset can be a little tricky. So just to make sure your yarn isn't too tight. For the buttons, it's just one stitch, or really however you want to do it. Now I'm going to embroider the hat for the flying snowman. I'm placing the hat at a slight angle because he's flying. And now I'll just add the buttons. Next, I'm going to do the nose. I'll stitch 2 short lines almost on top of each other to give it a texture. You can make the nose a bit longer if you want a carrot shape, for example. I'm also embroidering the snowman's nose at the base now. I love using Jamieson's of Shetland yarn. It comes in so many colours and has lovely texture, and the finished item lasts for years and it is very warm. So the gloves are finished now. You can see the little snowman, including this flying snowman. This glove is quite small. I have a small hand, but I think the smallest size is for around 3 to 5-year-old. My 8-year-old tried it, but it was too small for him. On the other side of the glove, as you know, we have the falling snow pattern. This one is the adult version. It doesn't include the flying snowman. It has the large snowflake motif, but you can always add that design to the large size. The chart is provided. I hope you enjoyed my knitting course for the Snowman gloves. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned lots of useful techniques. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me.